Born in Busan, Korea in 1864, but then growing up in Seoul, Philip as a teen developed strong political ideas. Then in 1882 became a junior officer, then studied at Kyojujuku University and Toyama Army Academy in Japan. Then in 1885, Philip and 2 other Koreans arrived to the docks of San Francisco. 4 years after his arrival in 1885, Philip began school at Columbia University as a medical student. Then in 1890, he became the first Korean American to receive his citizenship in the United States. 2 years after receiving his medical degree in 1892, he opens a private medical office. Then in 1895, returns to Korea. While in Korea, he devoted his life to educate people politically. After traveling back and forth for many years between the US and Korea, he finally passed away in 1951 during the Korean War. Today, there stands a statue of Philip Jason in front of the Embassy of South Korea in Washington, D.C. An was born in Gyeongseol, Korea in 1878, which in present day is South Pyeonggon, North Korea. Then in 1902, arrives to San Francisco. While living in California, he witnessed 2 Koreans fighting in the streets over sales tax. An was apparently upset, and he began to invest his time into reforming the local Korean diaspora. Then the following year, he founded the Friendship Society in 1903, the first Korean organization in the US. Today, many may consider An Chang-ho to be one of the key moral and philosophical leaders of Korea during the 20th century. A memorial park and hall was built in honor of him in South Korea, and then a statue of him was also built in Riverside, California. Horace Newton Allen was born in 1858 in Delaware, Ohio. Then in 1883 graduates from the medical school of Miami University. Then serves in China as a medical missionary, and then the following year moves to Korea. Not long after arriving to Korea, Allen had treated Prince Youngmin, who was badly injured during a battle, and gained respect from the royal family. Then in 1885, King Kojong provided royal finances to help Allen establish Korea's first medical center. Then many years later, in 1897, Horace Allen became the U.S. Minister to the Korean Empire. In 1903, Horace Allen, with the help of David Deshler and Reverend George Jones, helped the first wave of Koreans migrate to Hawaii. Because the Korean workers who came in within the first 6 months of 1903 fulfilled Allen's expectations, word was sent out back to Korea to recruit more people. It was recorded that in 1903, over 1,133 Koreans had migrated to Hawaii. Then the following year, the number had nearly doubled to 3,434. According to a 1910 census, there was about 4,500 Koreans who were currently living in Hawaii, while another 1,000 went back to Korea, then another 1,000 moved to the West Coast. Life for Korean Americans after the first wave wasn't easy, because like many other Asian Americans in the US, they dealt with a lot of racial prejudices, and it wasn't until the late 60s that they became more accepted after the new immigration law. But as we know today, times have changed.
Tick, stop, tick, tick, play it. Stop, stop, I, stop, tick, tick, I, take a look around.
It is recorded that there's more than 1.5 million Koreans in the US. That makes them the 5th largest Asian American group and the 2nd largest Korean population outside of Korea. There's also many Korean Americans who write their own experience, like Mary Pak Lee with Quiet Odyssey, and Elaine Kim, who wrote East to America. Another popular Korean American was Mike Song, who danced for Cabo Modern in America's Best Dance Crew Season 1. Probably one of the more influential Korean Americans was Herbert Choi. He was the first Korean American to serve as a United States federal judge and the first Korean ancestry to be admitted to the bar in the United States. NFL superstar Eugene Chung, Victor Kim, a dancer from Quest Crew, and comedian and actor John Cho. Also, what a lot don't know is that a lot of Korean Americans actually go to Korea and make it big there, like Stephanie Hwang and Jessica Jung of Girls' Generation, who both originally come from San Francisco. An ex-2PM member, Chebun, who was originally from Seattle, Washington.
Now it feels so right.